Okay, everybody, I've got 3 o'clock. I'm watching on my phone, so it's fine. Okay. We'll call the meeting to order. We do have a quorum. We have 11 of the 13 directors here. Charleston and Jamestown are not represented. We do have a new director, Frank Miano from Williamsburg, who has been named by Bob Soldati to take Kevin's place. So welcome.
Hello.
I'm going to go around the room. Paul Mallon from Amherst, Janine from Franklin, Donna from Brandywine, John from Jefferson, Andy from Bunker Hill, Chuck, I'm sorry, from Yorktown. What's your name? Matt something.
That goes for somebody. I got various Uncle Matt.
Uncle Matt. Rich from Torrey Pines. I'm Joe from Quincy, and Carol Ann from Georgetown. Okay. So we do have a quorum. Everyone has in their packet has the minutes from the last board meeting and the annual meeting that was the day after. If there are no questions on those, we're looking for a motion to waive the reading of those minutes. Take a minute if you need to, if you haven't already looked at them. They're also on the website, and I believe they were emailed to everybody. Although I think something funny happened with that email. Did anyone get them in the email? I know you did. Did anyone else get them in the email?
Yeah.
You got it? Like Carol Ann didn't. I had to get a copy, and Carol Ann says she never saw a copy. But even though I looked at the header of the email and all the names were there.
I don't think I didn't get it. I didn't get one. I don't think I'm on the email.
No, I'm pretty sure all 13 directors were on the email.
You don't have my email.
We don't have your email? Okay, then you didn't get it.
It's top secret.
I guess.
Everybody else has it. Level 5. I'll give it to you after I leave, then, because I don't get any notices.
Okay.
Motion to waive.
Second.
Donna and John? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous? Right.
Motion to approve.
Yeah. Motion to approve them as written?
Donna?
A second.
Okay.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Alright, start going to the agenda. The whole business item on here is the Frankenwood fine issue. We're 1% vague on this. Just for everyone to remember, this was the house that had fallen into disrepair. A letter was sent saying that if you do this, if you make these repairs, if you don't make these repairs, you're going to be fined. The repairs were made. They might not all have been made perfectly, and there's still a garage door that he's shown us is on order to replace the garage door. It's one of the big things. So the conversation that Janine and I had with Sandy was to take him off the hook for the fine, send him a letter saying you met the minimum requirements, we're not going to fine you at this time. However, we just want to make sure that you keep the house up in a manner that it's
good work.
appropriate. Yeah. I mean,
Well,
power wash the driveway, it still doesn't look good.
Yeah.
Your really driveway and sidewalk should probably be painted.
Right.
The house has some wood rot, should be painted, but that's not what we asked them or what
To do.
we asked them to do in the thing. We asked them
Right.
to power wash,
Yeah.
clean up some specific things, the lie, the porch, and some other stuff, and he did do all that. So
Right. I
unless
think
this,
she did, in the letter that she just sent, I think she mentioned that we need numbers on the house and on the mailbox too.
yeah, we think the post office requires
Yeah, post office.
an address
definitely
on the
requires
mailbox
that.
or on the house.
Yeah.
There's nothing on the mailbox and nothing in the house.
Right.
So that probably we should have included in the original letter, but we didn't.
Yeah.
All right. Something else is going to pop into my head as we go through new business that's really old business, and we're going to trust that then. So, Franklin, the fine is off the table at this point,
Right.
but we do expect him to maintain the house.
Mhm.
Right. Pool maintenance shutdown. Typically, we shut the pool down for a couple of days, 3 days, sometime in July or August. It's usually for two reasons. One is to superchlorinate the water and treat some black mold that gets on the surface. And the other reason is usually to make some repairs to the tile or to the coping or paint the coping or whatever. The tile is all squared away this year, and coping doesn't need to be painted. So there's no maintenance issue we need to deal with other than the water. We're thinking about not closing it down just now, and we're gonna discuss, it's actually the next budget item. We've been taking bids on resurfacing the pool, the whole pool. When that pool was resurfaced last time, does anybody know when that was, roughly?
I think it was 05,
05, when it went from the brown tile to the blue tile,
around
and we
20 years.
tiled over the brown tile and just put the blue tile on. That's why those top
Oh,
ones
wow.
keep popping off, because they really aren't meant to adhere tile to tile. And the surface is kind of at the end of its useful life. So we've got some bids, we're waiting for another bid, and then we're gonna have to go back when we have all the bids and get some clarification to make sure they're really equal. But we would like to look at resurfacing the pool this year, sometime in the late summer. If we do that, we don't need to shut it down for maintenance in a month or whatever. If we don't do that, we would need to shut it in for maintenance. The only twist to doing the pool, it's a fairly expensive proposition. The bids right now are between 50 and 60,000 to retile completely and resurface the pool, get everything up to code. Some of the numbers inside the pool need to be bigger. The handrail doesn't meet the code, the ladder doesn't meet code. So we have one very, very exhaustive quote that lays everything out. What we need to do if we're gonna pick a quote and go with it is we need to move money from the reserve fund to the general fund so we can pay for it.
Are they gonna just go over again the tiles, or are you gonna scrape it all off?
It's all coming off.
All come
Gonna
out.
start
Well, the
from
tiles
scratch?
all come out, and then anything that's bad, they'll scrape
I just
off.
think we don't wanna put 3 layers on there.
Yeah, no, we're not, definitely.
How long are they projecting?
They're saying a couple weeks. We've seen it happen, and it's usually a little bit less than that.
Yeah.
But what they have to do is, they have to drain the pool, they have to come in with the jackhammers and chip away all that tile.
Right.
Then they have to, scrape everything that's gotta be scraped off that's loose.
Yeah, put
They
the new
put
tiles.
a primer waterproofing on, then they do new tiles, then they do the surface, which, we'll have to pick a tile color and a surface color, even though they're pretty standard.
Yeah.
Surface, they all recommend to go with a white with little specks in it.
Mhm.
We've seen pools that both the contractors we currently have quotes for have done,
Mhm.
so we're happy with their work. And then when they're done with all that, they fill the pool with water,
Right.
and then it takes about a week for them to balance the water. What they do is they'll use the water out of a spigot, they have attach filters to it, so they filter out a lot of the junk that's in it, so at least it's filled with clean water, then they get it balanced, and once it's balanced, it gets turned back over to Pelican Pool to keep it clean.
Yeah.
So they're saying a couple weeks.
Are they gonna do it in the summertime when everybody wants to use it?
Well, we can't do it in season. I mean, it's our biggest amenity,
Yeah.
which is really the reason that we need to do this. It's the biggest
Yeah.
amenity Heritage Ridge has. So we certainly can't do it when the people are renting and when the snowbirds are here.
Yeah.
So it's really gotta happen probably in August or September.
Yeah.
And that's assuming we can do everything we need to do and get bids and have a contractor available. If anybody wants, the board, we're recommending that we do transfer 60,000, not, or 70?
That's the main.
We wanna transfer money from reserve to the general fund.
Mhm.
Matt can talk more about the financial situation and the details of it, but.
Yeah, like Joe's saying, we're looking at least $60,000 transfer, okay? To make sure we have the money to pay for the work. Again, we don't have all the bids in. You've heard me say this before, so this is redundant to plenty of you. When I look at our finances now, I look at it short-term and long-term. We have currently $378,000 in our reserve accounts, okay? I might have a $1,000 room for error because we just had a CD matured and the actual interest isn't on the books yet. But in any event, The question that I asked myself, and I think everybody needs to think about, is what is an adequate reserve number for the community? When it's all said and done, we don't own a whole bunch. We own the pool area, the pool pavilion. You know, most of our budget is spent on maintenance-related items, irrigation, lawn care, trees. We take care of that on a routine basis. It's not reserve fund money. I think you've heard me say before that if we ever had a catastrophic weather issue, whatever around here, and the pool pavilion was a total loss, A, we're insured. And B, I don't think most people would be concerned about the pool pavilion because their house would probably be gone. So, you know, it's one of those things where what are we really talking about? I truly don't know in my own mind what would be insufficient reserve monies. I think what we have is protecting us. So the idea of spending it, if you need it, you spend it. Again, one of the things I think you heard me say before, if you're starving and you have $100 in your pocket, you go to a restaurant, you go to a grocery store, you don't just keep starving. And the pool does need this. The pool does need this. It would be nice to wait until the end of next year when the loan is going to be satisfied. But then again, and this is the long-term part of it, the loan is going to be satisfied, and we are going to find ourselves in a very positive cash flow situation when that happens. So those two factors leads me as a board member to support the plan to, hey, it's broke, let's fix it.
That sounds like good news overall, you know,
There's,
in terms of the reserves and so forth, and when the timing of the pool.
it's not really a twist. We've also tried to solicit some bids to change the filter system over, or to replace the filter system. And we had one contractor who does that, who works with the vendor. What we have now is called Backpack. He deals with those systems, so he's familiar with it. He thinks it's a good system, it's the right system for the pool. We want to consider, can we get by with something simpler or smaller? But that's a down the road thing. That's for after the loan is paid off.
It ain't broke, don't fix it.
Well, it's kind of broke, but it's
Is it kind
it's
of broke?
okay. Between that not being 100% and the condition of the pool, it's a struggle. If we fix the pool, we definitely can put that off to where after the loan is satisfied, and we'll have, you know, someone in the annual meeting said, what are you going to do with the money when the loan's satisfied? Well, first thing probably, unless something else comes up, is to start looking at the filter. But we do want to do the pool now. It'll save us trouble in the long run, and we think it's the right thing to do. So, if there are no questions,
We made a
I will.
motion to move money out of the reserves.
Was that a motion?
Yes.
Okay, so
I make the
John
motion.
made the motion
Two.
to take
Take the money out
60,000.
of the reserves.
Needed for the pool.
Yeah.
And use it for the pool expense.
So, the other reason that we have to have this conversation now is we don't meeting until September.
Right.
So if we ended up coming up short, we could always do more money in September, but we need to do it now. So
And then we have
Who's
to
gonna
go all the
second?
way to November. how
Who
we mess
seconded?
up the pool.
I'll second. Done.
you do have to arm wrestle for the
You
second.
guys are running away with that.
Alright,
Just trying to keep things moving.
all in favor
Had more use.
of
Aye.
moving the money? Any opposed? Okay.
Andy made a good point.
Andy?
Yeah,
I forgot.
of the pool.
Oh, yeah.
Pool usage.
Oh, yeah, I think we had more uses in the pool this year than ever before, just from going there and
It
seeing it.
seems
I thought,
like it.
you know, it's very, very busy there most of the time this winter. A lot of people.
All right, well, that was fairly painless.
Yeah.
I think it's the right thing to do. I didn't think we'd have any objection to that. Painting in a pump house is in the wrong tents, because they're painted now. All 8 pump houses that needed painting that we were working on have been painted, and they have a good roof on them now. 7 of the 8 have a new metal roof, which is what we were going for. Hopefully you guys like the way they look. We like the way they look.
What color was it? They painted?
Give me a second.
Same color.
Same, Well,
kind of
it's-
grayish, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Willow
it's- yeah,
green.
it's-
What color?
You can't remember the?
Willow green.
Willow
No,
green,
it's not
yeah.
willow green.
It's
Willow
the
something.
color of the Yorktown houses.
Shady willow.
Oh.
Shady willow.
Shady willow, that's it.
Oh,
That's
shady
what I couldn't
willow,
think of.
alright, that really tells me a lot.
Green.
You asked the question.
Yeah, no, I know.
Green
Well,
is green.
Let's say green, yeah,
Yeah, green.
something I can understand.
So, you know, we did quite a bit of repair on a number of them, that Matt did a lot of the work, and Rich worked on the one in Torrey, and so that's behind
They
us
do
now.
look good, the timbers look good.
Yeah. Okay. We are currently looking at vendors to trim the palm trees in June or July. We've got a bid from the guy who's done it the last few years. He's gone up a little bit, so we're trying to get some of the bids. We haven't got anything cheaper than him at this point, so we're gonna work that process and make a decision and go all in with the tree trimming. We talked, this maybe should have been old business, the security system at the pool complex, so we've talked about it before.
Yeah.
Upgrading that system. It's like pulling teeth to get the company that administers it and the company that actually makes it and the company that installs it all to get their ducks in a row and give us a price and a demonstration of what this would do. So we don't have that yet.
We can't find one company that does it all.
Well, we're trying to use Bartlett, who does the work now, but, you know, they provide the security, it's someone else's cameras, so we're trying to get something out of them, and then we'll reach out and get some other.
So it'd be better to
some
get
other
somebody
options.
that does it all.
Right.
Yeah.
That way you're not,
Well, they do it all, but it's not all, I mean, it's
Yeah.
monitored out of, you know, Tuscaloosa,
What would the
Alabama.
upgrades be, Joe? I don't-
Just better cameras.
Better cameras.
Maybe tie the system together. I mean, if John, our pool guy, goes in at 10 o'clock at night to clean a hot tub because it's too busy during the day, he sets even though his access card lets him in,
Yeah.
the alarm company says, oh, somebody in the pool that shouldn't be there, and they want to call the sheriff. It'd be nice to have those systems integrated, so it says someone who has access went in.
Oh, yeah.
We're not gonna-
Wouldn't go off.
Yeah, we can
We're not
notify
gonna,
them.
we're not gonna call the sheriff.
Right.
So that's still an open issue, we're looking at that. There's land erosion, there's a area behind the pool behind the filter,
Mm.
where it goes to the canal, where at some point, probably the lawn equipment driving over the grass, cracked the pipe in the ground. That's when the filter is purged or backwashed, the water goes into the canal. That pipe broke and it washed a lot of dirt from the side of the hill into the canal. We just need to take care of that. The pipe has been temporarily fixed, so there's no more erosion. You know, we went from thinking we can get a couple of wheelbarrows fulls of dirt in there and fill it in, and realized it's more like a truckload of dirt. So we've got to coordinate, doing a more permanent fix to the pipes, getting the dirt under them, getting the pipes fixed, getting dirt on top of them, getting sod on top of them. So we're working on that. And that's right behind where the filter is. You really can't see it unless you're back there. Did I miss anything on that matter, Rich?
The only thing I can add is part of getting the soil there, we're trying to coordinate that with the Williamsburg community, because their landscaper is the same landscaper that we use, and they have a project that got put on hold because it's been so dry, and that project entailed bringing in a truckload of soil. So I had conversations with Bob Sablote, who's the president there, going back a month or so ago. And, I think once they move forward,
It's not on there.
we'll take care of that.
Yeah.
For us, it's pretty straightforward, John.
Then the last thing I have on my agenda is written in because somehow it didn't make the agenda. We've had a lot of people, it's about having some sort of auto electronic payment system. We've had a number of people over the years say, why can't I pay my dues electronically, Zelle or something? Why can't I pay the estoppel fees or pay for a pool pass? They come in, they don't have cash or enough cash, they don't have a check, they want to use a credit card. We so far have to tell them it's cash or check, it's the only options. So we've looked into some sort of electronic payment system. The simplest thing is something like Zelle or Venmo.
Yep.
Those are really, personal things between people. We went to dinner and you paid for dinner and I'm gonna pay you back after dinner or whatever. The banks don't like to use those for commercial, and they won't do it for free for commercial, the ventures like us, and they don't feel they're safe enough. Seacoast Bank is considering letting us do Zelle later in the year. So we looked into, there's two other options, there's two other ways to do it, and Matt has details on this, but one is basically a push, like when you go to pay your taxes or register a car, you're in the motor vehicle website, it says you can pay by credit card, but it's 2.5%.
Yeah.
Or it says, or you can give us your account number, and they'll draw the money out. Or there's kind of two ways to do that with the account number. There's a way you can have people sign up in advance. You'd almost send it with it, have it, when you send an invoice, you'd send a form saying if you want to do automatic payment, you sign up, give us your account number and your routing number and all that stuff. And then when it comes time to pay, you just suck the money out of their account. And the bank helps us keep track of who paid by check and who got the money that way. There's another way where it's more of a push, where the person has to actively do something like that day to pay it. Are you screwing this up? Or?
No, keep going, I'll try to clarify.
Yeah. It's either push or pull. The pull one, you have to sign up for in advance. Then anytime every year we're gonna take the $4.95 or whatever is out. The other one's more like a Zelle or a credit card, where the consumer says, okay, I'm gonna send this money now by something they do. That one seems easier, but it's much more expensive. And I think, and we don't know what kind of demand there is for this. You know, we mentioned it in front of Dory at the office, and she said, oh, people all the time say, why can't I use a credit card? The credit card, taking credit card payments, you almost have to charge 2 or 3%
Right, yeah.
on top of it, and I don't think people want to do that. And personally, I don't think if we send a thing saying, give us your account number, you know, fill this out and give us information, and we're gonna take the money when we want it.
Yeah,
I have a feeling everyone's gonna have that face on
Yeah.
and say, no, I don't want to do
I don't know
that.
if I wanna do that.
So we need to decide whether we think this is worth doing. Just looking into it and it's expensive, do we not do it? Or do we wanna pursue it? Now, Matt has more details on what the cost would be, but before I even have him explain that, it's kinda like a show of hands from the board of who thinks this is something worth pursuing and who thinks it's a bad idea.
I don't.
You can raise your hand.
I say stay.
I'm-
stay.
It's like
a bad idea.
What-
I'm all for auto pay.
Okay, so who's for auto pay?
I guess me.
So it's like 3 of us, 4 of us.
Yeah,
But-
I mean,
Yeah,
it's like paying the county taxes,
yeah.
same thing.
Alright, so now we're up to like 6 if you're
Yeah.
kind of a yes,
Well,
so.
No, that's why I pay my taxes.
Let me throw some of the meat on the bone though here.
Yeah.
The way I look at it too, by the way, I pay my, water bill
We
every
all pay
month
it.
automatically.
Yeah, automatically.
And South Martin doesn't give you an option where they email you the bill like FPL does, and then you pay it electronically, okay? I just paid my FPL bill today. I got it, I paid it. They send me an email, they have my account on file, I authorize the payment, they get it. With SMRU, I'll get a bill in the mail, believe it or not, but it'll say auto pay.
Right.
Because on whatever date, they take my money.
Right.
And there's no questions about, is
Right.
today a good day or whatever.
It's coming out.
So in any event, that's kind of like the systems we're talking about here. The first one were the SMRU, you're gonna sign up,
I did.
and we're gonna say to you, on December 31st of every year,
This is
we're
gonna
gonna,
come out.
we're gonna take $495 out of your account. Better have it there, because if there's a late charge or, an overdraft, that's on you, not on us. So, the issue becomes, what percentage of our population likes the idea of somebody just grabbing money out of their account? Okay? I have a feeling, I think Joe already said this, the percentage of people who look favorably at that 10%, 20%? So we're talking about 150, 200 households,
But
okay?
it's ever changing, just
Right.
because it may not be right now.
And by the way, that is the one that's affordable, because the setup for it is limited, and the monthly fee, and let me get into this too. A monthly fee for one thing is one thing. The issue for us, under any of the circumstances that we're talking about here, is there's a monthly fee of $225. There's a transaction fee, that's pennies, okay? But there's a monthly fee to the association of $225. Keep in mind, we only collect money 3 months out of the year, because we only, require a payment once a year. So basically December, January, and going into February are the only 3 months we really ever collect any significant amounts of money. The other 9 months of the year, we're paying $225, so we're paying $2,000, and we're not using it because it's not necessary, okay? The second, the push thing that Joe's talking about, there is a setup fee, and it's $1,300. There's the $225 a month fee, whether you're using it or not, whether or not people are paying electronically or not. And by the way, if only 50% of the people paid electronically, meaning I'm authorizing the payment, you still have X number of people who are gonna come in with checks, and you're still paying $225. If we add on the ability to pay with a credit card, there's another $225, okay? So if we were to take and utilize every one of the available electronic ways of paying, we got an initiation fee. The lowest one is $250. The most expensive one is $1,300. And then for each one of the three, the push, the pull, and the credit card, $225 a month. Okay.
For 12 months, nothing.
Have you looked at PayPal?
Yeah.
They don't,
PayPal's kind of like
PayPal we used when,
No,
I've used
PayPal
PayPal
for
for a 501(c) for the yearly dues, and it worked great for us.
Yeah.
Cause the payment, there was no upfront charges, and the payment was depending on how much, you know, it was a quarter each, depending on how much the dues are, but have you looked into that? I
we
mean,
haven't looked at PayPal. I think we might have, I thought we mentioned that to, in the bank.
PayPal has nothing to do with the banks, it's up to you, if you have a
So-
PayPal account,
okay, so-
I can set it up to pay you, as long as you have a PayPal account on a certain day,
You're not even.
and I, you know.
We gotta look at the
I didn't know that.
administrative cost on our end of managing
I thought
what
that was a
can
good
check, but we should look at that.
That was
We should
the
look
You
at
best.
should, I was the secretary treasurer of ours, so, I mean, I did the books and everything, so PayPal is what we use, and it worked great for us.
Yeah. By the way,
No, these are just
we're
thoughts, I
reporting on
understand.
what we've been able to find out today. I mean, that's really what this is intended to
We
do.
thought this would be easier.
Yeah, I mean, frankly, the one thing, and it's just in talking to the banker, we did talk about the Zelle, and she said they are looking into commercial utilization of Zelle. And they were hoping to have something by the end of the year. So maybe the decision is, we're gonna wait, you know?
And not all banks use
Let me put it this way,
Zelle.
I think the day's gonna come when there is no
Check.
building, right?
And we
I
started
mean-
this, we met with people from Truist, they made a little presentation, not Truist, Seacoast.
Seacoast.
They got back to us with this information. We can go to Truist and we can go to Bank of America, who we also have accounts with, and see if they can offer something better. You know, this is how far we got this far to this point, and one of the things I did was kind of get that show of hands, and it's kind of 50-50.
But remember,
of
Venmo
those
and
interests.
Zelle, every bank and every credit union doesn't, like, we're members of credit union.
Yeah.
Our credit union doesn't offer Venmo or Zelle.
Yeah, so it's
So
not.
it's not all encompassing for everybody, just because your bank, the bank we use
Right.
doesn't mean
Yeah.
everybody else's does. But
Right.
something like PayPal, it depends on what
Yeah.
account you have
Okay,
attached
we'll
to,
look
and
at that.
people could pay with their credit card on PayPal, but they would incur the charge for the credit card
Yeah.
rather than.
So,
That's the last part of the scenario too, by the way, and the plan may very well, and I do think at some point we gotta put something in place. It may very well include, if you wanna pay electronically and there's a cost to the association, the $4.95 isn't $4.95, it's $5.10. Or it's something like that, where for you to get the use of a service, you're gonna pay for the service, not assume that the association's gonna do it. Because again, you may have more,
Everybody's
a
not
majority of the
gonna do it.
residents may, the majority of the residents right now have no problem paying by check. You know, so for them to think they're gonna have a raise in their dues to accommodate somebody who wants to pay electronically,
Well, a lot of people can use their own bill pay if we're set up
Yeah.
to accept it,
right.
you know. They
Yeah.
can use their own bill pay through their own bank
yeah,
and go that way.
yeah.
So I guess we're gonna keep looking at it and see if we can find the reasonable
Yeah, it
an
seems
expensive
to
option.
me
We don't
it's-
wanna pay
it's too costly.
$10,000 a year in costs for
You know,
convenience.
It seems it's too costly
One
for
year,
3 months.
once a year
I
payment.
mean, I
Yeah.
can see if it's, you know, 4 times a year, but.
So it seems to me that there's enough interest in it that we should keep pursuing it and see what we can come up with, and maybe in September we'll have a recommendation. You know, I wish there was a way we could do it for 3 months and then turn it off and then turn it back on, but I think they're on to us.
If it wasn't for the monthly fee, it would be a no-brainer.
Yeah.
That's the end of the agenda. Are there any questions? David, did you wanna? The crowd champ came in.
Hello. We just see a pile of dirt. I'll talk to you later.
We need a pile of dirt.
Yeah, we need a pile of dirt.
Got any dirt on you?
And a dump truck.
So the next meeting isn't until September. This is our kind of long hiatus. You've given us enough to do between now and then. And if there are no questions,
I do have a question.
okay.
It's kind of, I was wondering if there's a key for the tennis courts. A key, you know, there's a side door that kind
the
of
padlock?
faces. Yeah, the one with the padlock that faces the pool.
What?
Well, because the balls go out and then we have to
Oh.
go all the way around the, you know.
You're talking about the one right by the front door of the tennis
The
court?
one that faces.
No, not by the
one
front
It's on
door.
the side,
The one
too.
that's-
Side.
Yeah, the one that faces like the canal.
No,
No? Can't do it?
we could replace the padlock. We do not have a key to that padlock.
Oh.
That's my answer.
Oh,
But that's not,
I got keys
I don't
for it.
think your question really is, do you have a key?
Wants to know
Your
if she can
question is,
keep the
can we
door
have
open.
one with
yeah,
a key?
can we have, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I was wondering if we could have.
Who's gonna keep the key?
Right,
Yeah, that's-
well, the key's
We
not
just-
gonna be lost every other
just-
day.
just the
We have
tennis
this problem
people.
where I
Do
am.
you, I think the concern that we all have is that who are we giving this key to, and how do we
We
make
give
sure it
one key
stays
to
locked?
our tennis court, that's it.
And who's gonna make sure the door is locked every time?
Yeah,
There's even
so
tenants
we-
there.
I know.
Well, I mean, you
I
can
don't
still
see
put a
what-
padlock.
No, we get a padlock that we have a key for, we'll put it on there, we'll get back to you, I think
Yeah,
that's
and,
unreasonable.
and it doesn't work.
Hmm? What's that?
We have the thing at Miles Grant, it never works. Someone always leaves the door unlocked.
Really?
Yeah, that's
Got
that's
two
my concern,
padlocks.
but,
That's
They'll
my
lock
concern.
one, they won't lock the other. Someone
Okay.
doesn't have the key, and it's like, okay, how come we can't get into the
We'll put
tennis
a
court?
conscientious though.
maybe
You
there's a
know,
way we can
just
put
that-
a lock that's
I just wanted to throw it out.
closer on it, or
Yeah.
something that's not
I
a
mean,
padlock.
I'll put a
We'll look into
combination
that for
lock.
you.
Yeah, but
We did.
you have a key.
The reason I asked if it's the one in the front, the one in the front, where
Yeah,
there's a
right,
little gate,
more.
when you first go in, there's down those bushes, there's a gate. I know balls go over there,
Yeah,
and that's
not that, yeah,
padlocked.
not that one. It's
No,
the
but that one, the thing got bent.
No, there's,
So people go in there and get their padlock, get the balls out, and there's pool equipment in there. But somebody was going in there to the point where they bend it, push and go in, and there's pool equipment in there, we can't have that on
No,
line.
no.
So that's our concern in general is, how do we make sure it stays locked? We'll talk about that in
Yeah.
a reasonable request.
Oh, you're right. It's a possibility.
Alright, need a motion to adjourn?
Make the motion.
Just put down Donna for everything.
So that was Donna and Janine?
Yeah.
Janine was the second.
Yeah.
All in favor? All opposed? Unanimous? Thank you, everybody.
Oh, yeah, that's gonna make
Okay, mine.
Not around, though.